having that tunnel vision sometimes for me, it's like you just fell into this place of just focus that you just didn't have the rest of the year because it wasn't do or die, right? There was going to be a next week. Well, right now, there's not a next week for 4 of these guys.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. California's Kevin Harvick does it. Straight naked right there. You're the man.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by Nascar on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick. She's still Kaitlyn Vincie, and he's still Mama Smith.
Still.
We're all still here.
We're all still here.
Where are we at here?
We're at episode 57.
Is that what it says?
Can you believe that?
I can't. It's gone by so fast.
It
and
really
The
has.
closers have made it so.
I know.
57 episodes and we're growing like weeds.
We haven't been on all 57. Kevin does the heavy lifting
Yeah,
around
that's
here.
true.
Well, that's not true. You guys took over while I was on
I
vacation.
do every rundown, though.
Yeah.
I do the notes.
Yeah, she has notes. Keeps
the
us all in
notes.
check.
I'm just here for entertainment purposes, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Look at his
Right,
sweater
well, hopefully
today.
You were entertaining today.
Yeah, today.
Over this weekend.
Yeah,
we got
over
an
the
entertaining race.
Yeah, everything's
that
been
We
we
keep
did.
having races like that, and it makes our job easy.
It's super easy to talk
Certainly
about when
does.
they like to run through each other.
Yeah, we don't even need to really study.
But
I like that a
This-
lot.
let me
Yes.
make sure it's in there. It's a
Well,
little
if you're just listening,
patch.
it's of course I have to comment on his outfit. It's
Yeah.
pretty sharp. It's like a vintagey NASCAR sweatshirt thing.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You know, I got my green the green Delta pants and some Pumas, white Pumas.
Wore some jewelry today.
Wore
You
some
did.
jewelry today.
The jewelry is back.
This
Is
came,
that real gold?
which one? The
Idiot.
cross from my mom is real.
Okay.
The other necklace is definitely not.
It's
But
just costume jewelry.
no. It's a little more expensive than that. It did come from Brazil, but
Oh,
it just
came
looks
from
nice.
Brazil.
Okay. Yeah.
When you went out there for the wedding,
Yeah.
you went jewelry shopping. Okay.
How many pairs of glasses do you have?
Heat Wave has sent me a lot of sunglasses. I have 4 pairs of glasses and a bunch of sunglasses.
Did you get 47 to fix our hats yet?
They
What's the
are
problem?
down. No, they're down.
What's
They're
the problem?
Yeah.
What do we need to do?
I need to call up Joshua Jones.
Joshua Daniel,
We'll
give
get
him
that.
a ring.
Yeah, Joshua Daniel. We'll get that situated.
We can fast forward. You can skip him.
Oh, I can?
Yeah.
You just want to do it?
Mix him out.
All right, 47. Let's get it rolling.
Let's
Let's
go.
get it rolling. Speaking of getting it rolling, make sure you continue to follow us on social media, give a 5-star review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're recapping, of course, all things Watkins Glen. As Kevin mentioned, very entertaining race. Another entertaining race is coming up, the final race of round 1. Bristol will preview that. And you've got your sips as well.
As always.
We love the
Sip,
sips.
sip.
I love this format, though, because of what we're seeing playing out right now. Because I don't think any of us would have guessed certain things would have happened that have happened so far in this round of the playoffs. And we have a spoiler coming in with Christopher Buescher. What about this?
Well, Chris Buescher did a great job. And first, let's give him his props.
Yes.
because That's the hard part about the non-playoff guys winning races. They don't get the credit that they deserve. I think he's a sneaky good road racer. And I've been able to go to some of those schools and see his capability. And Ford does, all the manufacturers do a great job of giving their guys a lot of opportunity to get better. But Chris he's a very quiet guy.
Reserved,
and I think this weekend everybody saw his skills on the road course. Interesting race because of the fact that we had some new tires this week. We had a lot of fall off, and then as the race played out, it seemed like the tires were a conversation, but they were less of a conversation than they were in practice after everybody got used to them and you got all the cars on the racetrack and track position kind of trumped some of the new tires. But as we saw there in the stage when the second stage when the caution came out and some of those guys stayed out, we saw those tires take over as the old tires started to be undrivable. So I love the fact that we had some tire fall off and strategy and things. I think whether it's a road course, oval, whatever it is, it just makes it more intriguing. But, we see the video of this last lap between
What a
SVG
lap.
and
God.
Chris Buescher here. And, Shane went into the bus stop there. I thought it was over, but he went into the bus stop, got into that inside wall, knocked the car over a little bit out of the racetrack. And then Chris was right there to capitalize on that mistake and get underneath SVG going into the carousel back
But
there.
this part right here, Kevin, when SVG is wrecking, out of that corner and makes up time. I think that is the craziest part of that. I mean, shout out to Chris Buescher for winning the race because that was an awesome move and super entertaining. I'm glad he got that. But SVG running that car sideways, closing the gap. I think if he was a little bit more under control, he might have tried to dive it in the last corner. But if he does right there, I think they're both wrecking. So that's a badass move.
Yeah, and it's I think that all those restarts at the end, it's tough. Chris did a great job fending off everybody. He picked the bottom of the racetrack. We had Chris on our victory lap, this week, and he talked about picking the inside just to keep himself from getting shoved all the way outside to where we saw early in the race where you could keep that momentum on the outside. But these cars are so durable and the restarts become so physical as you go into turn one. SVG kind of got him just good enough to get him up the racetrack a little bit with the right front tire locking up and was able to get underneath him the third time on that third restart there. So wild day, I think, as we look back,
yes.
all the way to the first lap.
Right, lap zero.
Lap zero, folks.
Funny part about lap zero. So
funny thing about lap
way
zero.
back in the day, Max Pappas was driving Tony Stewart's car, and we were on an airplane together, and we smashed into each other during the race. And I said, Max, you understand that you pass everybody on lap zero because nobody wants to wreck their car on lap zero in turn one. I said, I know you think you're being a hero, but passing all those people isn't as easy at the end because everybody is just trying not to tear their car up. Not the case anymore, but lap zero, Corey LaJoie bounced it off the curb into the side of Kyle Busch. And next thing you know, Kyle Busch is wrecked. Christopher Bell spinning. Ryan Blaney's in the wall.
Hamlin, Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, were we surprised at how many playoff guys had issues? Because almost nearly all of them did.
Well, I think a lot of that their issues started when they got there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those guys can credit qualifying bad or in the middle of the pack to their accident. And that's why you want to qualify good and you want to do all the things that you can. But we saw an abnormal amount of guys in the playoffs qualify bad.
Right. Yeah. Denny Hamlin being one of them who didn't have a solid qualifying effort. I know you had a chance to talk to his team, or at least his crew chief, right?
I think it's I got my phone out here.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing over here now?
I've got my phone out here because look at the points.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Denny Hamlin would be -6 going into the last race of round one?
No,
we've got Denny Hamlin -6, Brad Keselowski -12, Martin Truex Jr., who is absolutely done with racing -14, and Harrison Burton -20. So I think Harrison, everybody probably had that pick in the first round. But the guys that we didn't have, +43, Austin Cindric, +41, Alex Bowman, +36, Daniel Suarez.
Gotta apologize to a couple people.
I seriously
Let's say a few.
Yeah, I'm gonna apologize to Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric. You guys stepped up. The teams have stepped up, and they're doing exactly what they need to do to get to the round of 12 to give themselves an opportunity, because that's all you're trying to do in this round, and it's about execution. They've executed very well. The 11, the 54, the 6, like a lot of these guys have just not executed very well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the first round of playoffs, I think after watching the first 2 weeks, I think for me personally, I think I underestimated Atlanta Watkins Glen.
Yeah.
Sure.
And factoring in the Watkins Glen tire, throwing everybody for a loop, I think that I was just way underestimating the significance of the way that the races were structured in round one, and could eliminate at least what I thought would be 2 championship contenders, possibly, if they could put it all together. I think that going to Bristol, obviously Denny Hamlin is very good there. I think Martin is. I don't know. I think Martin's done with it. Listening to his interview after the race, I think he's obviously down the road to retirement.
Yeah. He's
frustrated with the style of racing that comes with this particular car. And so Bristol's going to be interesting because it's I think if you're Hamlin, you can point your way in, but I think it'd be a lot easier if you won your way in.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And they kind of need to go with that attitude a little bit because they need to get the momentum back. Like, it seems like the mojo for the 11 group is just not there anymore.
Yeah, and I think when you look back at just the driver strategy to go out and at Atlanta and just try to race for 20 points. And then everything that's happened, all the drama, I think that
between the charters,
between the charters and everything that's happened, I think that it's just derailed the 11 car off the tracks. I think they can go to Bristol and put it back on the track, and they can go there and win. But man, what a dismal way to start the first two races of the playoffs.
It seemed like you could date it back to the engine thing that occurred. That was sort of where things started to come off the rails a little bit. And listening to Denny after the race, he did say, this round of the playoffs, we've never had anything like this necessarily. Because I think it was Marty Snyder who was asking him, like, have you ever had a low point like this in your career? Is this the first time you've experienced this? And he attributed it more to the tracks in this round that he has.
Yeah, and I think Denny's probably been through some, he's definitely been through some
ups
lows.
And downs,
I think right here, he just turned over the front of the 6 car. I'm sure the spotter was on the radio saying 3 wide. And, you heard Steve Letarte say it on the broadcast. It was kind of a desperation move to hope that Brad was going to lift to get back in line right there. But, I think it's, we've seen some uncharacteristic things. I look at Denny Hamlin as, a leader and a guy that is going to go out and be aggressive and always try to win. But I just feel like, when they went out at Atlanta and that strategy didn't work out and it didn't seem like they were all on the same page with what his strategy was with he and his team. It just
wind out of the sails.
It is took the wind right out of the sails, and momentum is a real thing in our sport.
Right,
it really is, and
massive.
It's no different than any other sport. And we hear all the guys talk about it. We want to get hot at the right time, and that's how you win these championships. And sometimes you just can't do anything right, and sometimes it just comes down to that momentum being based on the decisions that you make.
Yep.
And in the first round of the playoffs, the 11 car driver made a bad decision. And the only way out now is to go to Bristol and have a great day.
Yep.
But they haven't had a great day.
I want to put put one more bow on Chris Buescher and the 17 car and everyone who's not in the playoffs, because the system almost makes those wins even more impressive, because you really have something. They do have something to race for, and it's to mess the whole playoff standings up. And that's fun to be that spoiler and to remind people, if a couple things went our way during the season, we would be right here running for this championship.
I think the other thing that it also teaches you is, how do I race under pressure? Sure. And I think leading into those playoffs, I'm not sure where they were with all that pressure on them, because yesterday that was the team that we expect to see throughout the season, that we saw mid part of this season, and getting towards the end of those playoffs when you're maybe having to win or maybe racing for points. And we've talked about it on here. Do I race for points or do I race for the win?
Right. Yeah.
And I think that, you as easy as it was for them to say, hey, we're not paying attention to all that. We're not counting points. We're here to win.
You're watching it.
It's tough to balance all that right here.
Yeah. I was going to ask
It's tough to balance all that right there. And it's been such an interesting year for Chris and his team, because I think coming off of last season with the performance that they had, we expected them to go right into where they left off. They had some good runs at the beginning of the year, but as soon as the 1.5 mile races started, it kind of started to show the weaknesses of the Ford.
Yep.
And they gathered that back up, right around the time we got to the first Darlington, had a few good weeks, but the circumstances just ate those guys up on the 17 car, and just nothing went their way. And then they kind of fizzled away, and now they're back. So it's this sport is tough, and I think sometimes, like we've talked on here before, sometimes when you know what you're racing for and you know your circumstances, and right now it's, I don't give a shit. We're going to go out and try to race for a win.
We're just going to go
and just that's easier.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier to balance mentally and as a team, and how you prep into things that you do.
Yeah, good for Chris Buescher and company. And as Kevin mentioned, you can listen to that interview, the Victory Lap. It's available now. The pressure conversation always is interesting to me, because now we're going into the final race of this round. So what do you think is the mindset for someone like Denny right now? I mean, do you think he handles pressure well or not?
Well, I think the thing about Denny has always seemed that he's handled it. He's got a lot of things that he can handle well off the racetrack and still get in the car and perform. But he just never got to the point of being able to handle it well and win a championship. And, that's the part that I really thought it was going to be different this year. But as we've gone, when we went to the very first freaking race, we're right back into questioning that, right? And as much as we can talk about the performance and how great the team is, the very first decision that was made into the playoffs opens that question back up, right back to questioning that. So we're going to find out how strong they are right now. I expect them to go to Bristol and be able to perform, but you got to put the whole thing together. And oh, by the way, we are going back with the same tire.
Yes, we are. So, we're definitely going to talk all about Bristol a little later in the show. So another driver that's kind of been a little puzzling as of late is William Byron. And there was obviously a very unusual situation with him and Brad Keselowski coming together towards the tail end of the race. How would you assess where that team is at right now?
Well, first off, Joey Logano wiped out Brad Keselowski. I mean, obviously he didn't mean to. There was a lot of marbles and get those marbles on your tires and the thing doesn't turn. He wound up taking Brad Keselowski out, and on his way to the wall, William Byron was wide open. Wide open.
That was so odd looking.
On the outside, and actually climbed up on the car. I thought he was going to go through the catch fence.
Catch fence.
So luckily there's a double stack of guardrails there that keeps the cars in the park. And they actually wound up.
Are those harder than the wall? Do they hit harder? No, they don't move. I've noticed that they don't move at all either.
They move. They move more than a concrete wall.
Okay, good.
But what a weird wreck. And we've seen those wrecks there before where you pile up the whole field. And luckily we didn't wreck more cars than we actually did right there. But really, William Byron has been a little bit off since Indianapolis and his wreck at Indianapolis, and the things that have gone on since then haven't been great. But just another instance of being back in the middle of the pack. These guys had pitted for tires and just wrong place, wrong time right there. But wrong place, wrong time for several of those cars that were in the middle of the pack, trying to make something happen with tires at the end.
Man, if he's a little higher, not much. Like if the left front catches the top, he is exiting the ballpark for sure.
You think that chain link fence is going to keep him in there?
I don't really think so, but I think that's what it's meant for. William Byron, man, they came into this season, they wanted to win a lot of races and be a dominant force.
And they were in the beginning.
They started right where they wanted to be. And it just hasn't stayed with them. And these guys are, when you hit the wall, it hurts sometimes. And maybe that knocked a tenth or two out, and they're just trying to find that back.
William Byron currently 25 points above the cut line. Just above him is his Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Kyle Larson, who had a vehicle interference penalty. What did you make of what you saw here? Kyle obviously took full onus on that.
And during the race, we saw Kyle get the penalty during the race for interference. And so basically you'll see this orange line that is painted on a diagonal in the pit box before. That gives NASCAR a reference to be able to understand where the car is to call the penalties. And there's a box right outside of that NASCAR uses for reference as well. But Kyle's way to the right into the pit box of the 43 car there. And we heard him talk on the radio during the race, talk about being on the left side of the car with having to turn right into the pit boxes. And he thought he was being conservative and still wound up deep into the 43 pit box right there. So easy call for NASCAR. Those lines don't even matter when there's not a car in that pit box, but those lines are put there to protect those pit crew guys, to give them space to work. And that's something that's been there for a couple of years now.
He was pretty close to the 43 guys. You said that you can actually challenge that?
Well, during the race, if you feel like somebody impeded your pit stop, you can actually send those videos up to NASCAR if they didn't catch it and see what they think of those calls.
Definitely matters when it's a teammate racing someone who's in the playoffs and you need some help, and this definitely can affect some things.
That's right.
And something that you used to do, right? Like if you felt like those pit crew guys were too far out on pit road, and you'd brush them. You'd definitely brush them and try to knock the tires out of the.
Are you kidding?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
If those guys were too wide and you thought that they weren't giving you space. I mean, it was you'd definitely make them think twice about coming around that car while I was coming in the pit box.
Gamesmanship.
You just
gamesmanship.
not games that need to be played, and NASCAR kind of put their foot down on all that.
Yeah.
Pit road always a dicey place. We saw like Brad Keselowski, there were errors on both sides. He got a speeding penalty. Then his pit crew lost a tire. And those are the things that can't happen if you want to advance.
And you know the crazy part about all this? It happens every freaking year. Every year the
really
playoff guys have chaos. And it's that pressure that we talk about, right? Because you have to get everything that you can to be able to put yourself in a position to have a fast pit stop, gain spots on pit road. And it's like we talk all the time. You have to err on the side of being too aggressive, and they were too aggressive a couple times.
Yeah, it's easy to sit here and Monday morning crew chief and be like, "Wow, just take slow down a little bit." Like, no, that's not how these guys are wired. You're wired to get all you can out of all the aspects of the race, and whether it's the driving or your strategy or your pit stops, and when you're pushing so hard, it's easy to mess up.
When you were on the team at Stewart-Haas Racing, and it was this time of year, the playoffs, did you guys all experience it as the crew?
I'm telling you what.
How'd you manage that?
When playoffs start and you're in the shop, it's nervous energy all the time. Until you're into the next round, you're just like, all right, is this right? Is this bolt in the right place? And as teardown, it was like I'm just looking over the interior of it, because that's where I was mainly, was the interior of the car. Are all the pieces for the driver where they're supposed to be? Is anything loose? Is anything, changing? And if it is, relaying that to the crew chiefs and everybody else so they can look at why it might be, because that one thing that I miss might be a reason why Kevin isn't able to move on.
You don't want to upset Kevin.
Well, and it's exhausting because you wind up in this tunnel vision of, I don't care what I have to do. Most of the time I didn't do what I had to do. It was just focus on the car, focus on the team, focus on whatever else. And when you didn't want to talk about something, you just brushed it off and did what you thought was right in that particular instance to have the best performance of the car. Yep. What can I do to put my team in the best position? And having that tunnel vision sometimes for me, it's like you just fell into this place of just focus that you just didn't have the rest of the year, because it wasn't do or die, right? There was going to be a next week. Well, right now, there's not a next week for four of these guys that are going to have to be eliminated from the playoffs, and basically their chances at a championship are over. So that pressure and that ultimatum of, hey, we either do it or we don't right here is on this weekend.
Not making rounds, Kaitlyn, is awful. As a team, when you're at the shop. Yeah. When you get in and you don't make a round, and luckily at Stewart-Haas we had multiple cars making rounds most of the time when I was there. But when you get knocked out, it's just very deflating.
I loved it though. I love that just that pressure that comes with that focus and being able to fall into that.
You guys are reflecting on your time at Stewart-Haas Racing. I want to give some props to an SHR driver, and that would be Chase Briscoe. Entered the weekend 21 points below the cut line, leaving Watkins Glen. He is now 6 above it. They did exactly what they needed to do.
You know what I loved about this weekend was the fact that Chase Briscoe coming across the radio and not just saying, I don't know about his crew chief's question and decision of whether to pit or not to pit. He's like, hey, this is what we got to do. And he was positive, straightforward, and quick to think about
I loved that too.
He was the leader. And that's always been something that you wonder, that when is that time going to come, if it ever comes from a young driver. But to me, that is a confident driver that was sitting behind the wheel to just say, yep, this is what we need to do. And that was the end of the conversation.
It was.
He knows that they had a good opportunity to have a good day. And the next week is Bristol. He's good at Bristol. That's a track that fits his style of racing. So they can walk out of here, points their way out. I feel like they're going into Bristol very confident, as they should be. And look who he's spending off, Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. at Bristol. Those are two really hard customers when it comes to that track. So that's who he's got to beat.
Yeah, I think Gibbs led 358 laps. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Last time at Bristol.
Well, you guys led me right there. It's time to talk about Bristol Motor Speedway, the next race for this round of the playoffs, the big elimination race. And what a cool venue this place is. It's absolutely one of my favorite stops on the circuit. I feel like there's nothing quite like it when you first see it, when you're driving up to it, the Coliseum style racing. It's just so fun. It's a great place.
I can tell you what else was not, there was nothing like, was the race last time.
Well, they've been using.
Yeah.
Did you notice the NBC has been using your soundbite for the promotion of it? The one where you were like, "I'm ready to rip somebody's head off."
I was.
Wait, who was that? Who's that with? That was
Chase
that was with
Elliott.
the
glasses.
Oh, the 9.
The glasses that survived.
They're still there. They're still on his head right there.
I love it.
We got to get the video of the glasses because they hung on by like
A thread.
just a thread there on the roof rail. But that's the intensity that comes with the playoffs, and then you ramp that up again at Bristol because it's the Bristol night race, and that intensity that goes with that night race has been there for as long as that night race has been there, and it just. You get back to the short track race and you're at the end of the year. You've got mixed agendas.
Mm-hmm.
You've got guys that need to win. You've got guys that don't care if you're in the playoffs and they want to win. So you have so many different agendas that go with this time of year. And then you take that to Bristol. Everybody's frustrated already at this point because they've been to Atlanta and however many restarts they had to go through last week at Watkins Glen. So everybody's mad at everybody, it seems, at this particular point. And going to Bristol, that should make for a fun show. I'm glad I don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Just worrying about it.
Are you going down there? Are you going to go watch it?
I think I'm going to go Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all going to be there this week.
Yeah, I'll be there.
See if I can get an interview during the ARCA race.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you an
We know
interview
a
during
guy.
the truck race.
Truck race.
Yeah, I'll be in the truck race. But yeah,
Oh, okay.
Both on Thursday.
yeah, they're both
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Yeah.
On FS1, in case anyone's wondering. So
Good promotion.
yeah, the last great Coliseum, Bristol.
So
it's
cool,
really cool. It's a bucket list event for I think most motorsports fans around the world. It's just different, and it is going to be intense. And then, you talk about making mistakes in execution. Like when you're on pit road here, because the pit road's different. Under caution, you got to do the whole cycle under green. You get to pit on your side of the racetrack and just. I remember Clint Boyer, he said one time he was running, he was like, I don't know, he said he was like 200 laps in, and they were like, he goes, how many more laps do you got? Like 300. He's like, damn, I don't even know what's under the racetrack I'm on, because you just get into the momentum of the track, and then both ends look so similar.
That was pretty typical of Clint not knowing which end.
Confused.
he's on.
Yeah, that's
He's always confused.
that checks out.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing that sticks out leading into Bristol this week, we heard so much about the tires last time wearing out, and the type of race that we saw was pretty extraordinary, extreme.
It was, yeah.
Circumstances. And Bristol was the racetrack that Goodyear wasn't worried about that happening. I think most everybody says it was temperature related. So was it?
We're about to find
or
out.
was it not?
We're about to find
Yeah.
out.
That's the part for me that is intriguing leading into this weekend, because if it wasn't temperature related and we go back and those tires shred again and we have that same type of race, it'll be interesting to see how that's handled.
The balance of the tire, like the balance of the rules, the tires, all this stuff, the car, you got to keep it moving, because if not, the teams are too smart. They're always going to outsmart whatever obstacle you put in front of them, and they'll do it quickly. So if you just leave stuff as it is, you run into like the choo-choo train type races that you don't want. And, you got to give it to them for at least trying to do different stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully, it's a little bit more manageable than maybe in the spring. But if it's what we get in the spring.
So what are you preparing for? Are you preparing for tire shredding, or are you preparing for the tires are going to be fine because the temperature's right?
I would prepare for the shredding, and I would try
Can you prepare for both?
I don't know. I don't think you can do it that way.
Can't do it that way.
I would do.
You're going to have to go down a road of,
Yeah.
do you
Pick
think
one
it was
lane.
the temperature, or do you think it was the tire?
Because I don't trust the temperature either way, because I'm going to go with, I think it was the tire, and I'm going to try to be a little conservative with my setup, I think. And
But this has got to be stressful then for the teams
It's
this
all
week.
stressful. Everything
Like,
about the playoffs is stressful. And then you add this round. There isn't a known quantity that happens in this round with Atlanta, Watkins Glen with a new tire, and now you're going back to Bristol. What they say was temperature related, and the tires lasted 40 laps, 35 laps the first time around, and so if that's the case, then you would set your car up different for what the tires are going to be.
Let me ask you: knowing that, do you risk long runs in practice?
Not sure.
Like I would think that if I have a teammate outside of the playoffs, they might risk a long run in practice. Like if I'm SHR.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I thought
like,
you were asking.
No,
I thought you were asking. If the teammates went down different setup strategies.
Oh no.
Yeah,
No, I mean like
kind of got what you got.
Yeah, you got to know if this thing is you got to try to find out in practice if it's gonna last for a long time or not, because that's so important at this point.
Yeah, and I think right now it doesn't sound like they're going to spray the racetrack until the ARCA and truck race is over with the resin.
Well, how does that change?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I've never seen them do it that way before, but I know that those guys have been locked down to the bottom of the racetrack the last several times that they have been there because of the resin or the PJ1 being on the bottom of the racetrack to make that the dominant lane. So I think not spraying that racetrack until those guys race probably allows, I would think, the racetrack to get wider and more rubbered up sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my guess. A lot of guessing.
A lot of guessing.
See, Rodney would yell at me right now. Every time I would say, "Are we guessing?" There is nothing that's a guess here. Nothing is a guess.
Is that his quote?
Everything
is that what he would say?
Everything we do has thought behind it. Well, seemed like guessing to me.
Yeah, how was that dynamic in the throes of playoff season between you and him over all those years?
I think everybody understood the intensity of what was happening, right? Like the expectation was, you guys cover every detail, I'll cover every detail, and then we're going to go. And it's just tense. And I think everybody knew that it was tense, and it was tense from the time that you rolled the car off the back of the truck and you pushed it through inspection, because everything that on that car better be almost red when it rolls through the
pushing
scanner
the limits
and pushing the limits on everything that you do. So we really, we've been to Atlanta and we've been to Watkins Glen, and now we're going to Bristol. So we really have this unique spread of racetracks, which almost makes it more difficult. It does make it more difficult from a preparation standpoint, because you're prepping for so many different things.
There's no rhythm.
One thing that I thought was interesting after the race, I saw a social media video of Juan Pablo Montoya and Tyler Reddick talking about their race, and I don't know who it was, just standing there, filmed the whole thing. And you could tell that Reddick was not really in the mood to talk, and Montoya was just in this, hey, this was fun, that was good, that was bad. And Reddick's just like, how much longer do I have to talk to you? Just because he was stressed out, didn't have a good day, got run over. So it was.
Juan did pretty good.
Yeah, shout out to him. Not being a cup car for 10 years.
He did better than I thought
coming
he was
over.
do, to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like that.
For some of it.
There you go. But this race this weekend, a very cool trophy too, I might add, on the line. I feel like this isn't a crown jewel, but should it be considered? No,
it's not a crown jewel. But
I know it isn't one.
You want to. You definitely want to win.
Everybody seems like they want to win this one.
Yeah, I like the sword.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
I don't know.
Where do you keep them?
Well, I have one in my office on my table, so the kids will come in and take it out of the case.
The thing is, it's relatively. It's not dull either. Like it's
not dull.
It's relatively
It's heavy and it's steel.
Yeah, it's real.
Oh wow. Where do they get them from? Does anyone know the answer to that?
I don't know.
Probably Rome.
I know one year we won.
Probably Rome. Oh yeah.
We won the Bass Pro Shop race, and
no, we don't have anything.
Well, we don't have that trophy in here, but it is this massive bronze eagle, and it's I don't know, the wood is like this tall, and the case that it sits on, and it's just this massive piece of wood and bronze that went with it.
Wow!
And so you get all kinds of cool stuff.
You've swept Bristol before, haven't you?
I did, yeah.
Did you do all three? You swept all three, right?
No, I didn't do all three. 05, we won them both.
Yeah.
Came and let's see. Yeah, that was the year we had the Reese's chocolate and vanilla car. Burton had one, I had the other.
That's right.
It rained out qualifying, so I usually drove the 21 car. So they took the points so Burton would get in, and I had to start in a trunk. It got rained out, and then Sunday they pulled the car off the lift gate, and the power steering was broke. So I started 43rd in the Cup race, and we just smoked them that day. And actually, Todd Barrier was the crew chief. He was suspended for something that we did in Las Vegas with the fuel cell. I don't know what they had.
I don't know exactly what it was.
I don't know.
There's something going
Something
on.
wasn't right.
Something was.
And so we started dead last, drove through the field, won the race, and Scott Miller, who used to be head of competition for NASCAR, was my crew chief that day.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we came back on Monday and won the Busch race. So it was a good place.
Memories.
It's a good thing they redid it, or we'd have won a lot there, a lot more.
Well, I love that. I love that you've obviously had success there. So the teams below the line, who is feeling the most pressure, guys? What do we say?
It's Denny
All
Hamlin.
of them?
It's not even close. Listen, they have had the most pressure since they left Atlanta.
Okay.
Like once Atlanta, the strategy Atlanta went south
Mm-hmm.
and then into this week, and they started the race and got wrecked on lap 0, and now they're down 6.
Which
Man.
isn't a lot.
It's not a lot, but it's the momentum has been going in
Mm-hmm.
that direction. They've been spiraling, and there's been no signs of it stopping.
Just pains me. I had so
That's
much.
your guy.
I had so
Yeah.
much banking on Denny Hamlin, and here we are.
One
Here
of
we are.
the closers this week on Twitter was like, I listened to Kevin, I picked Denny. I'm like, that was your first mistake. Don't listen to Kevin.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
know what the bad part is? I want him to win.
I know you do.
I want him.
I
to
think
win
we
the
all do.
championship.
Yeah. I mean,
I want him to win the championship, and all this just unraveled at the wrong time.
yeah.
Everything in
It's
the
like a perfect
sport,
storm.
and all the stuff that unraveled at the wrong. It just all unraveled at
Yeah.
the wrong time, and I don't have the utmost confidence that they can pull out of it, unfortunately. But I think if they're happy that they're going to Bristol.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they can win anywhere, but going to Bristol is like a step up on the confidence bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that they definitely have the most pressure put on themselves, and I think a lot of it was somewhat self-inflicted.
They need the dude from the Netflix show to show up. They need the I beat your favorite driver. They need the overly confident chip on his shoulder Denny Hamlin to show up. If that guy shows up and drives this weekend, they'll be fine. If that guy don't show up, I don't know if they're
The
gonna make it
Netflix
through.
show is all over the place. There's a lot of people. I look at some of those people, some of those car pictures of before the race, and I see the cameras and the microphones, and it just makes me
It gives anxiety.
cringe.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do it.
Okay. That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that we are thinking are feeling the most pressure. On the flip side of that, who are we confident definitely moving on besides Joey, obviously?
Well, let me pull my points back up here.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
take a look at the points.
Let's pull this
the
back
old
up.
Because we
notes
got
out.
So I
Austin
think
Cindric.
Christopher Bell is 46 up.
He's probably
I
pretty
think
good to
Christopher
go.
Bell, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, even Chase Elliott. I think unless you have a major problem, all those guys down to probably William Byron are in a pretty good spot. So you've got basically 6 spots with Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex, Harrison Burton.
The way I look at that is the top 10 is not locked in, but they're feeling pretty good. They're feeling pretty good. Like, let's just get through a couple stages, get some points, and we'll be in good shape.
Yeah.
There's 6 drivers for 2 spots. Because honestly, like, Harrison Burton's only 20 from that. So if he has a really good points day, if they pull the rabbit out of the hat and
Can you imagine?
they're all pretty close. I don't know if it's been this close before.
It's pretty
This
close.
is very close. Yeah.
It's too close if you're any of them.
Yeah.
It's
Usually someone's like way out.
Usually you're racing 3 guys, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the
Fair.
other guys have to win. You're racing they're all.
Yeah, it's not
6
like
of
the
them racing.
16th place guy is 40 some points out.
No.
like we've seen
Seen.
before. I
There's
understand what you're saying
there's
now.
pressure among all of them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds out there in Thunder Valley for the elimination race of round 1 of the playoffs. Okay, time now for your little special segment.
Oh, we already here?
We're here.
Oh my
We're-
goodness.
Sip.
We've arrived. You got a long sips today, though.
We do have a long sip.
Looks like I like it.
Well, first off, before
First
you
off.
get started in your sips,
Okay.
tell everybody how your travel went this weekend.
Ah, yes.
Okay. Thanks for ruining the beginning of this for me.
I think it's fantastic.
So
What a trooper.
yeah, so
He is a
I flew out on Thursday to get to Watkins Glen to Syracuse. I flew out at 10. We got on PM on the tarmac, 2-hour delay.
That's a total 20-something move.
Okay. Okay, fair. Did what I had to do. We got there, right? My biggest worry this whole time was the rental car situation.
Yeah.
And because at a
Would
big
the
enough
office be
airport,
open?
like
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. You just kind of roll up and you roll out. Well, Syracuse isn't that big. We get there, and man, rental car is closed. Okay, and I did fly first class, so that made it a little bit better. But I had no recline. So 2 hours, no recline. My back's a little jacked up. I'm getting older.
He's complaining about the first class.
Anyway, so I'm like, okay, I'm in a bad spot. There's really nothing to do. It's 2:30 in the morning to get a hotel and then try to find an Uber and then have to get back 7 a.m. for the rental car. So I sleep on a bench.
In the airport.
In the airport, a wooden bench that was close to a plug so I could charge my phone, but it was also right above the AC unit.
Yeah.
And I had no blanket, and I was very cold. It couldn't
This is
quite
like
get
worst
comfortable.
case scenario
It wasn't
over
great.
Anyway,
Poor guy.
I thought that was pretty intriguing that you slept on a bench in the Syracuse airport.
yeah, thanks.
Kevin loves it.
Yeah, he loves that part. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love that part.
go ahead. Sip.
Anyway, America,
Sip.
welcome to the Social Sips. We're happy to have you here. We're gonna start with old Unc over here. He went to the Panthers game.
I
Yes,
did.
he did.
We all saw you
Much
there.
of a
Look at
game.
this.
Now, well, they played.
Here's Alan Cavana.
Yeah, Alan Cavana. Shout out to Alan. And you have a little smirk. What are you smirking about? Because I know you saw yourself, because I've been in your seats before, and I know you can see the Jumbotron.
Yeah. Well, the seats are great. And unfortunately, you wind up on the Jumbotron a lot. But I don't know why I was smirking, because I'm looking at myself on the big screen. Probably the biggest thing. And it seems like it takes like 25 minutes when they're standing there with the camera in your face. They got the camera
waiting.
right here.
Oh, yeah.
And you're looking at the big screen.
It takes a while.
That's
and
funny.
then the next thing you know, I wasn't expecting him to say, and welcome NASCAR legend to the Carolina Panthers game over the whole stadium.
Oh,
So that kind of embarrassed me.
You're surprised that they
Oh.
called you a
Yeah.
legend?
Yeah.
I'm
well,
not.
what? I was surprised. What?
That they called you a legend?
Not really.
Okay.
You are a fucking legend.
Yeah. that kind of goes with the gray hair at this point.
You're right.
But it's cool you're getting to do things you normally don't get to do.
I've never been to an NFL game in September.
In September.
I can tell you that. So we just went. I mean, the
Yeah, why
Panthers
not?
are terrible, but we went and watched the game and had a good time.
Listen,
Nice.
folks,
That's
if you
awesome.
want to go to a Panthers game, they're right now, I guess they're $1.80. So
$1.80.
$1.80.
Yeah, it's a
Listen.
good thing we didn't get CJ Stroud. He's good.
Yeah. He is good.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, when I was a kid, I guess celebrities, because he had a show called The Flavor of Love, was Flavor Flav. I was actually Flavor Flav a couple times for Halloween.
Is he the one that wears a watch or something?
He wears a clock.
The big clock, yeah.
Tony Stewart beat me in a Halloween contest because Tony was a hula girl. So like,
And you were
Oh,
Flavor
my.
Flav.
I was Flavor Flav. I should have won.
And he won?
Yeah,
as
Tony
a
won.
woman?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tony won. Well, he had his belly out.
He deserved to win.
He deserved to win.
I've
I
seen these
remember-
pictures.
I remember she looked like Chiquita Banana Lady.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Flavor Flav is a big motorsports guy now. He's a huge Will Power fan, and they were at the IndyCar race, and there's a video of him coming in and dapping up Will Power, and Flavor Flav also sponsored the women's polo Olympic team, U.S. women's polo Olympic
That's
team,
neat.
which was really cool of him.
We
to do.
didn't know you could even do that.
Hey,
Look.
Flavor Flav is a legend. And what was the reality show that we?
Flavor of Love.
Gosh, that was good.
You watched it?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
That was what everybody watched.
It
Reality
was so
shows.
great.
Yeah.
Remember Tila
It's like an
Tequila had
OG
one too?
reality
Yeah.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Tia Tequila.
Tila Tequila had
Oh,
one.
yeah. I
and then,
remember her.
Brett Michaels had one too.
Yeah.
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 That's
Anyway,
funny.
I love Flavor
Anyway.
Flav. Thanks for coming out here. This guy. So if SVG was the man on road courses, this kid is like, if SVG's Batman, this kid must be his Robin, because
Yeah.
Connor Zilic makes it look extremely easy on the road courses, and I couldn't go a week or go without talking about it for a minute. He got he's a Red Bull athlete now, which is a big deal for being 18, and he wins the ARCA race. I'm like, okay, he's running against AJ. I think Byron was in the Xfinity race.
Yeah.
Ty was there. SVG, obviously, he won't win this one. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
He was like 11 seconds ahead at one point.
Yeah, he won going away.
Impressive.
He was way gone.
Yeah.
And so one of our closers was like, do we think that the different disciplines is something that's going to become a norm for the development of these drivers? I don't know. Looking at him, it seems like
Well,
it
yeah,
works.
I think with Connor, he has an extreme road racing background
Yep.
with everything that he has done, and we kind of found Connor in karts because Kaitlyn was racing against him, and they had just a few different karters, himself and Brent Cruz that came out of there at a high level.
Yep.
And these kids are those two are at a different level than most of the kids. And we're going to have Zach Brown, from McLaren on the show this week. And I think in American racing, because Connor went to Europe and was successful in the karts, won races and competed over there several times, but he realistically is one of those kids that could have succeeded at F1 from a road racing background standpoint. I know we talk about Larson and the things that he can do in the car, but this kid, is actually a kid that went to Europe, went through that system, beat a lot of their kids that are going through their karting system in through their open wheel ranks, and just never had the opportunity to go and go through that F1 route. But his road racing background, he's already won the 24 Hours of Daytona. I mean, he's won his first Xfinity race. He won the ARC. He's won 5, 6, 7, however many ARCA races he's won this year. So he's got a bright future. I'm glad he's in NASCAR. But definitely one of those kids that could have went in any direction that he wanted to because of his ability, and especially on a road course.
Weren't you kind of instrumental with his dad and encouraging him, right? I thought you told a story about your involvement with the family.
These kids raced with Kaitlyn in a different class. So I learned a lot about these kids as we were just following along, watching them race, and they stick out like a sore thumb. And Connor stuck out like a sore thumb because he was just better than everybody else in the karts. And so as we got to the end of what I thought the end of karting with Connor, and he started to go do some different things, I just asked his dad, I said, what are you gonna do? He's like, well, probably just send him to college and we'll go just run the Spec Miata and have some fun with his brother, because his brothers ran the Spec Miatas. And I'm like, I don't know. I think you might want to give him an opportunity. But yeah, Silver Hair Racing, actually a friend of mine, a friend of Fred Lexi, who runs KHI and has run KHI for 25 years with me. And he was actually friends with the gentleman who owns Silver Hair, the road racing team in Trans Am. So we got him his first test over there. And I may have told this story on here, but he got his first test at Silver Hair. Well, the day before, William Byron was there, and he went 1 second faster in the same car than William Byron went at VIR. And that was kind of when Maurice, who owns Silver Hair Racing, was like, can he race? When can he race?
Yeah, let's
so
do that.
Anyway, that's kind of where it all kicked off, was Maurice giving him a shot in the Silver Hair Trans Am car.
Yep.
And one thing led to another just off of pure results that Connor had.
He's a really nice kid. I'm proud of him. I got to do the ARCA winter interview with him. We've done 2. He's won 2, and I have both of those.
So. There you go.
We would travel to the go-kart races, and one day we were traveling, and Connor was on the airplane, and we saw him get on the airplane, and we get off the airplane, and he sends me a text. He's like, hey, can I get a ride? And he's probably 15.
Right.
Well, he's there by himself.
Oh yeah, he can't drive.
He's got nobody with him.
Yeah.
He can't rent a car. He's like, can you give me a ride to the racetrack? So he rode to the racetrack, but he would just travel around. He's just very
independent.
He's very independent.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Self-sufficient of things that he can and can't do, because he's just gone and done them his whole life.
Yeah.
That's
so
fascinating.
This is one of my favorite ones. So Brian Scalabrine, basketball player, used to play for the Celtics, was a part of their 2008 championship. Obviously, I know he is because that's my area. Okay, but
basketball,
NBA. Okay, the reason I bring dribble the ball. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because fans would be like, "Oh, he sucks." Like, he sucks.
I've never heard of him.
Right? He's like, "Yeah, I might suck compared to Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, like LeBron James, these guys, but like I will destroy you in basketball."
As in you?
As in anyone else. Like, and like anyone that's like not
hypotheticals,
in the NBA.
right? Yeah.
And so 9 years ago, he would let people challenge him, and he never lost. Well, this year, this kid was like 6'9". I guess he was a junior in high school or something like that. Challenged him to play to 11 for the shoes that they both had on. Scalabrine beat him at 43 years old, 11-0. And I bring this up because we have fans that think that they can just run with our guys or anyone, or like racing's like, oh, it's not that hard. I don't.
Yeah, drive in a circle.
Drive in a circle, or even like, I don't think most fans could race people at Trackhouse Motorplex and the go-karts. I don't think most
should do that.
That's kind of why I brought it up, Kevin.
Okay.
So
who's driving?
Challenges?
I don't know. We can pick a couple. I don't think they're definitely not beating Kaitlyn.
No.
They're definitely not beating him, and he's, a child. And they're not beating me. And I'm never was good.
Okay.
And I know they're not beating. They might beat you. You're a little older now. You might be a little slower.
Go-karts are just not for me.
But I think
rough on my old body.
But I think we should set up a little challenge. Let someone come on, take on Kevin.
We got to find the right fan though. We got to find the best shit talking fan that we can find.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we got to really embarrass them and have fun with it.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Good idea, Mamba.
Or we could just use our producer. He probably can't drive. Can he drive, Tyler?
Tyler's getting strays. He's in the ear. No, I'm not.
Poor Tyler. We always manage to throw him under the bus somehow.
It's just you two.
Happy hour. So we have a happy hour team outing. We're going to GoPro to see how bad all of our
fans
team behind the camera actually is.
I'm here for it.
You don't want to see how bad I am.
Oh no, we want to see it. Actually,
it scares me.
Time now for our last call. Who we believe can get it done out at Bristol. Kevin, you're up first. What do you say?
I don't know. I'm almost getting tired of guessing because my guesses have been so wrong. I think if you go off of the first race, it's going to be a Gibbs car with the way that they ran. But gosh, I think I have to go off the Denny Hamlin thing because he's just been so wrong for me.
But he's your championship pick.
I know. So
do you need an olive branch? Do you want me to? Chris Buescher does that all the time for Nick Wright. I'll give you an olive branch.
What was that? Who does that?
Chris Buescher.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Buescher.
So you're gonna olive branch me?
Yeah, you can get out. You can dump the 11 as your championship pick right now.
No, that's not
I can't
how
do
it
it.
works.
Okay,
Can't do it.
Okay, so
I'm going with Denny.
All right, I like it. Okay, I'm staying in the Gibbs camp as well. I'm going with Martin because I really would like to see him win a race in his final season.
Yeah.
I have his charity event this week, by the way, Catwalk for a Cause. I'll be hosting it. It's always
I think I think our picks are almost charity picks, but
now.
I am gonna go with the guy who sat on the pole at Watkins Glen, Ross Chastain.
Oh.
They have had some speed.
You're
and
picking
I think
a non-playoff guy?
A non-playoff guy to win the race. Yeah, because they've been showing up, and I think there's about 4 or 5 playoff guys that are going to keep doing this throughout the playoffs.
Well, there you have it. We'll probably all 3 be wrong, but we're doing our best, people. Speaking of doing our best, your interview this week, I know you referenced it. It's going to be a good one with Zach Brown, not the musician, but in fact, the CEO of McLaren Racing. A big deal.
It is a big deal. And I think with everything that we've talked about with Kyle Larson, I'm glad he's coming on here because I'm intrigued to just hear his thoughts on it because of the fact that we talk about Kyle being able to do anything and do it better than Max Verstappen, which I'm sure that he could hold his own. But I want to hear McLaren is involved in so many different forms of racing, and Zach has done such a great job of turning that program around on the F1 side. Now we see him on doing well in F1. We see him doing well in IndyCar. We see him taking Kyle Larson over to the Indy 500. So where's this all going? And ironically enough, it sounds like we race go-karts in the same little circle out there in California.
That is fascinating.
So we're going to quiz him on his go-kart background and see where those paths may have crossed as well.
I hope you guys would have raced each other and didn't know, and I hope he wrecked you.
Well, he's older than me.
Oh, okay.
So we may have raced at the same track, but you never know.
Yeah. Could have had one more jab in there. Well, we look forward to that conversation. We look forward to the race this weekend out at Bristol. Keep subscribing on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. We will see you after Bristol.